Tar Vizsla was the first and only Mandalorian on record to be inducted into the Jedi Order. During his time with the Order, Vizsla constructed the Darksaber, a unique lightsaber forged of Beskar and crafted to reflect his Mandalorian heritage. Following Vizsla's death, the Darksaber was kept in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant until it was stolen and brought back to Vizsla's family during the fall of the Old Republic. The saber played an important role in uniting the Mandalorian people and would serve as a symbol of power and leadership for generations. Mandalorian tradition states that the Darksaber is to be won in combat. Any rightful possessor of the blade holds both the power and the responsibility to lead Mandalore and to unite its people. But should one come into possession of the saber without winning it by creed, as a gift or by yield from the rightful owner for example, their ownership is an unworthy one, and Mandalore will be doomed to fail. By the time of the Clone Wars, the Darksaber was held by Pre Vizsla, a descendant of the saber's original owner and leader of the radical Mandalorian group known as the Death Watch. As the Clone Wars and the Mandalorian Civil War drew to a close, Darth Maul would seize Mandalore, winning the Darksaber from Pre Vizsla and claiming his right to the Mandalorian throne. And from this point on, the question of who truly has the right to wield the Darksaber becomes a complicated ordeal. The rise of the Empire and the end of the war forced Maul into hiding, at which point he elected to store the Darksaber in his lair on his home planet of Dathomir. Years later, Sabine Wren, a Mandalorian artist and an explosives expert for the Ghost crew of the Rebel Alliance, would happen across the Darksaber and escape Dathomir with the weapon now in her possession. Worried that she was not ready nor worthy of wielding the weapon, Sabine would give it to Kanan Jarrus, who would hold onto it for a short time for safekeeping before giving it back to Sabine and training her on how to properly use it. Upon Sabine's return to her home planet, she would temporarily lose the Darksaber to Gar Saxon, the head of the Mandalorian clan who supported the Empire's reign on Mandalore. Soon after that though, Sabine would engage Saxon in a duel and regain the saber. This, from my point of view, would now make Sabine the rightful owner of the blade according to Mandalorian culture, as she won it in combat and then also proceeded to lead her people to victory on Mandalore. After this, however, Sabine would gift the Darksaber to Bo-Katan Kryze, insisting that the saber only came to her so that she could pass it to a wiser and more experienced leader in Bo. And upon several Mandalorian clans pledging their allegiance to her, Bo-Katan would accept Sabine's offering. Now, according to the Mandalorian way, the Darksaber must be won in combat. But I do think it's at least worth entertaining the possibility that obtaining ownership of the saber in this way is actually acceptable so long as the person receiving it is worthy. I understand that that's not what the Mandalorians believe, but as we know, all is as the Force wills it. And if the Darksaber and its sentient Kyber crystal accept this person as the rightful ruler of Mandalore, then I see no reason why that person can't take up the Darksaber other than the previously established rules. But on that thought, people and cultures and rules change with the times, so I still think it's possible that the saber could be passed down in this way without complications. However, if ever there were a time when karma appeared to come back to bite, it was indeed while the Darksaber was in Bo-Katan's possession. On the Night of 1,000 Tears, the Empire obliterated the surface of Mandalore, nearly eradicating the Mandalorians from existence. And in the chaos, Moff Gideon managed to obtain the Darksaber, making him the next possessor of the blade. We do not know how the saber was won, and we don't know how long Gideon had it for, but it doesn't really matter all that much, as we do know that he later lost it in a duel with Din Djarin, who is now the current owner of the blade. But as we also know, Din Djarin is not keen on leading Mandalore. In the Book of Boba Fett, it seems that he has taken a stronger liking to the weapon than he had when he first won it, but it is also in this series that the Armorer declares that Din is a Mandalorian no more. And even if that changes, Din Djarin has never presented himself as someone who desires to reunite the Mandalorian people and take the throne as their ruler. In fact, Din is not someone who has a very strong understanding of Mandalorian history, and thus he doesn't really even understand what the Darksaber represents. Nonetheless, he is the current wielder of the weapon. He did win it in combat and then defend his ownership of the blade after being challenged and defeating a fellow Mandalorian who wanted to stake his own claim on history. So, now that we have laid out its history, who is the rightful owner of the Darksaber? The easy answer is of course Din Djarin, and it's very possible that that is the correct answer. But what about Sabine Wren, who also won the Darksaber fair and square and never lost it in combat? Sabine, who is by all indications still alive during this time period and who is far more familiar with the Mandalorian way than Din Djarin is. If we are to follow the Mandalorian cultural rules to a T, then Din Djarin and Sabine are the only true candidates as of now, and that is of course assuming Sabine is alive. They are both Mandalorians and they both won the Darksaber in combat. But technically, Sabine won it first and never lost it. She would be the rightful heir to the Mandalorian throne. Now, she did not win it from Maul, who was the previous owner, but Maul also was not a Mandalorian. He did not care about their people, and he was never committed to their cause, which in my opinion removes both him and Moff Gideon from the discussion of true rightful ownership. Not to mention the fact that Maul is dead, so he's pretty much irrelevant to this conversation now, and even if Moff Gideon's possession of the weapon was somehow justified, he lost it fair and square to Din Djarin, which again, that in itself is the argument for why Din Djarin is the rightful owner. But as we see in the book of Boba Fett, the Darksaber appears to be resisting Din Djarin as he struggles mightily to wield the sword. Now, part of that may have to do with Din's technique, or lack thereof, but it may also be due to the saber, more specifically its kyber crystal, which is in fact deeply connected with the Force, resisting Din Djarin as its owner, whether due to Din's conflict or because the Force knows that it is Sabine Wren, not Din Djarin, who is destined to be the true Mandalore. Now, with that being said, there is another angle here. What if the Mandalorians are simply wrong? What if the Darksaber does not need to be won in combat? Rather, it's simply a matter of the blade making its way to the right person. What if the Darksaber is resisting Din Djarin because the next true ruler of Mandalore is out there and the saber knows it? Of course, that person could be Sabine or Bo-Katan, but it could also be someone else, like Boba Fett, or perhaps more likely than anyone, Grogu. Yes, the saber is far too big for the young Jedi Padawan right now, but modifications can always be made, and wouldn't it be fitting that the lightsaber, which was constructed by the first ever Mandalorian Jedi, would eventually find its way into the hands of another just like him, who would reunite the Mandalorians after generations of division, rebuild their people, and restore the way however the Force guides him to do so. In my eyes, these 5 characters, Grogu, Din Djarin, Bo-Katan, Sabine Wren, and Boba Fett, are the 5 primary candidates to become the next true Mandalore. And if I had to eliminate any, I would cross Boba Fett and Bo-Katan off the list. Even if Mandalore is not to be restored, the Darksaber still needs an owner, and I believe Grogu, Din Djarin, and Sabine Wren are the most likely candidates whenever and however this ordeal is resolved. But who do you guys think will emerge as the rightful and worthy wielder of the Darksaber? Will it be Grogu or Sabine, or will Din Djarin maintain it, or will it be someone else altogether? If the saber does change hands, will it be passed down willingly or taken by force? Let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to drop a thumbs up to support the channel, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and of course, may the Force be with you always.